Profit is brought to you by StopToShop.com, and they've got some of the best prices on the internet for the new emerging power set. Now's the perfect time to stock up on playable cards like Gothitelle, Pokemon Catcher, Tornadus, or even the new Pokemon Trading Card Game Online code cards. Click on the link in the description to check out the set. When you do, you'll get a 10% discount on your full order at checkout. When you're looking for cards, make the stop. It's Stop to Shop.
Hey everybody, it's JWittz again from the Pokemon Trading Card Game Show Profit, and I'm here today with another Pokemon Fact of the Day. Now, as I talked about last week, I'm trying to branch out to facts that are just about Pokemon in general, and not just the trading card game, and I was actually really worried when I put that video out. I didn't really know how well you guys were going to respond to it. I felt like, oh, I don't know what I'm talking about, because it's not about Pokemon trading cards, but you guys were all great, and you left a lot of awesome feedback, too. Now, to take that feedback into consideration, here's one comment that I read. It said, "Allow people to submit their own facts. Save you some time." And that's from Neko Zeppelin. And so I thought, you know what? I will take this feedback and some of the other feedback that came with it and make that into a video. Now, I don't know how often I'm going to do this, and I might not for every single fact that I do, but it is nice to post some of the follow-up comments that came from the last week's Fact of the Day. So without further ado, here are 10 more creepy and weird Pokedex entries, all submitted by you guys. Started off, we got Gorbiess from Jack Kenton. Although Gorbiess is the very picture of elegance and beauty while swimming, it is also cruel. When it spots prey, this Pokemon inserts its thin mouth into its prey's body and drains the prey of its body fluids. Wow. Wow, we really started off with the big guns. Okay, so Gorbiess, just looking at it, it's also a very forgettable Pokemon for the third generation, but it's just a pink, fish-looking thing, and apparently it is the equivalent of an enormous swimming mosquito. It drains the prey of its body fluids. Why do they have to get so in detail with that kind of stuff? For kids, guys. Next up is Shedinja. Shedinja's hard body doesn't move, not even a twitch. In fact, its body appears to be merely a hollow shell. It is believed that this Pokemon will steal the spirit of anyone peering into its hollow body from its back. How nice, seeing as in the games, when you throw it out in a battle, you see its back. So, I'm wondering if Pokemon just thought they were funny by doing this, like, oh hey, we've got a Pokemon that steals souls, and technically, if you use it in battle, it'll steal your soul because you're looking into its back. Also, I just think that Pokemon with soul stealing is kind of creepy. It's very supernatural, very beyond, just regular creatures fighting each other. No, it can just take your soul, leave your body with nothing in it, and move on with its life. There's a couple of Pokemon that have to do with spirits and souls today, and this is just one of them. And that's from Disturbed Duelist. Next up, this one was my most liked comment. It's Cacturne from the Sapphire game. If a traveler is going through a desert in the thick of night, Cacturne will follow in a ragtag group. The Pokemon are biding their time, waiting for the traveler to tire and become incapable of moving. What? Okay, now I did remove the little comment that he added at the end just because I need to keep this kid-friendly and whatnot, but the comment that he posted below it definitely does raise a question. What are they waiting for? Why are the Cacturne following people, waiting for them to become incapable of moving? What's the next step? What's their goal? Are they planning to eat the people? Are they planning to kill the people? What does that mean? Why are they so creepy? Once again, just another unanswered question of why Pokemon have such dark stories behind them. And that's from XS Zergal X. Larvitar for Black and White. This is a weird one, not a creepy one, but a Pokemon that eats soil. Once it has eaten a large mountain, it goes to sleep so it can grow. And all of Larvitar's descriptions have to do with this. Eating a mountain. Now, I could understand, like if Larvitar needs to take a couple bites out of a mountain, like it's a soil eater or something like that. But no, once it has eaten a large mountain, like an entire mountain, and as they commented, you'd think they'd run out of mountains. Or Larvitar. It's, absolutely silly. I know a lot of Larvitar's attacks have to do with eating mountains, but the fact that that tiny thing consumes an entire mountain just absolutely baffles me. That's from Shironara. And we've also got Hypno from Fire Red. I know I covered Drowsy last week, but Hypno is basically just as bad. They are both child predators. It carries a pendulum-like device. There was once an incident in which it took away a child it hypnotized. That's from JJ Attacker. And what the heck, Hypno? That's so disturbing to me. Now, I understand, like, Drowsy, he ate the dreams of children because they were tastier, and that was pretty weird, but Hypno just straight up kidnapped. There's no questioning. It straight up hypnotized a child and took it away. And that is in our children's game. I don't understand why it's so creepy. And actually, if I come to think about it, I think Japan just thinks that this kind of stuff is funny. Because there's totally a t-shirt. They had a t-shirt line called Pokemon 151 for a while, and it was more like adult-oriented. Not adult-oriented, but like it was supposed to be graphic and design t-shirts for Pokemon that would not necessarily look like they came from Pokemon. They were targeted toward, a teenage to adult audience. And one of them, Hypno, shows Hypno, like, leading a little girl away. So they're definitely aware of this story, and they have official merchandise showing it. Just weirds me out. Japan and the USA definitely have different thresholds for what can be considered offensive or not, and it's very interesting that not only did they write this, but they've gone back and made official merchandise that acknowledges that it was written. Weird stuff. Heatmore. Using their very hot, flame-covered tongues, they burn through Durant's steel bodies and consume their insides. That's from Zelda X, SRCX. And that's just gross. Now, there's a lot of these, like, Pokemon that eat other Pokemon, and I think that that's just weird. In my mind, they just battle each other, they knock each other out, and that's the end of things. So when you extend into, like, basically what seems to be a depiction of what an actual animal in the wild would do, it just gets weird. Heatmore is also interesting. It's just like Survivor and Zangoose, like natural enemies. Survivor and Zangoose always are hunting each other, and I guess Heatmore and Durant are always hunting each other, but the fact that they made one Pokemon specifically so that it can eat the other Pokemon is just weird. And I get it, he's an anteater, and Durant is an ant, but do they have to go into detail that it melts their body and consumes their insides? It's a little much. Glalie. I think this one's my favorite out of the bunch. Glalie has the ability to freely control ice. For example, it can instantly freeze its foe solid. After immobilizing its foe in ice, this Pokemon enjoys eating it in leisurely fashion. That's from Team Charizard, and this one seemed so absolutely over the top to me that I went online just to make sure. Like, oh, is that really what they wrote? It's on Bulbapedia, it's legit. That is Glalie's description. Glalie is not only known to freeze Pokemon, I mean, that would be understandable. Even if they said that it freezes its foe solid and immobilizes them in ice, I mean, I guess that's not really disturbing, but they go on to say that it eats it in a leisurely fashion. This is a step up. It doesn't just eat it. Glalie isn't just hungry. It's like torturing these Pokemon that it freezes. It's eating them leisurely, like a bag of potato chips, or like it's some kind of fun game or something. Now that's messed up. Now, I think in general, just eating is weird, but when you enjoy it, that's when it just gets strange. Next up is Confagrigus from Black. It has been said that they swallow those who get too close and turn them into mummies. They like to eat gold nuggets. Well, first off, that's a pretty strange juxtaposition, but that's from Noob Nader, and once again, what is wrong with these people? Now, Confagrigus, it's a coffin, I get it, but to go into detail and remind you that it takes people and turns them into mummies is pretty disturbing. Now, does that mean that when you catch a Confagrigus that there's already a person in there that it's eaten, or, I don't know, consumed, turned into a mummy? I don't really know. Again, the 5th generation specific added a lot of Pokemon that have to do with, like, spirits and death and stuff like that, and while it's definitely interesting It's a little stretching it for a kid's game, and it's definitely funny to see how far they take it. Next up, speaking of the 5th generation in spirits, we've got Litwick, Lampent, and Chandelure from JL Collector. Or is that JI Collector? Let me know. We got Litwick. While shining a light and pretending to be a guide, it leeches off the life force of any who follow it. Lampent, it arrives near the moment of death and steals spirit from the body. That one's a step up because it even just specifically talks about death. Like after someone dies, a Lampent will show up and take your spirit. And Chandelure, being consumed in Chandelure's flame burns up the spirit, leaving the body behind. So these are all really, really dark. Even Litwick, well, first off, I think all 3 of these Pokemon are straight up adorable Pokemon. But Litwick, of all people, stealing life force. We've got Lampent, who's essentially the Grim Reaper, comes up after you're dead and consumes your spirit. And Chandelure, I guess, would be the one that kills you by burning up your spirit alone and leaving the body behind. Now that is, I guess, just messed up to me. It's different than, Pokemon just taking your spirit out. It, essentially kills your mind? I'm not exactly sure. Burns up the spirit. Either way, it's just very dark and very undesirable. And lastly, we've got from Rotom Boys, one on Dusknoir. Now, this one is taking the direct translation from what they wrote in Japanese, but I think it is interesting to note what they say in Japan, because that's kind of the whole canon of what the official Pokedex entry is, and it just shows that there was a Pokedex entry that was disturbing enough for people from the United States who localized it to change. It was bad enough for them to say, hey, we need to change the wording on this. Now, what's interesting to me is all the other Pokedex entries that they don't change the wording for if they choose to change this one, but it is very interesting that there are a few where even they look over them and say, hey, this definitely isn't okay. And it's from Dusknoir. It's the huge antenna on Dusknoir's head picks up signals from the underworld, telling it to take humans there. Now, I think they change Underworld to Spirit World in the English one, but just think about that for a moment. They intended to have a Pokemon that, and completely non-offensively, just straight up the name of the place, they have a Pokemon that takes people to hell. Seriously. Not only that, but it's just weird. It has a signal on its head that picks up messages telling it to take people there. So there's like some strange factor of possession going on here, but even if we accept that it's not the underworld and it's the spirit world, where's the spirit world? What's that? Even if it's, not a specific, Bible-based place of like misery and suffering, it still takes people to a place where only spirits go. It's still removing you from the earth. It's still really strange, and considering that they just originally straight up said underworld, absolutely dark. Anyways, thanks for reading these 10 additional facts provided by you fans, and I'm really glad that you guys were so responsive to that video. I was kind of worried that you guys would think it would be boring or weird, but everybody seemed to like it. That makes me happy, and I'm definitely going to research more trivia for the Pokemon games, anime, whatever. Anything beyond the card game. Now, sometime in the future, I do want to talk about Pokemon Pokedex entries for the card game specifically. Now, there are so many cards that it's going to take me a while to research on that, but if you have any that you think are interesting, either leave a comment in the section below or send me a message. Now, I don't want to do that video right away. I want to branch away from just talking about the same thing over and over again, and I want to provide you guys for some more interesting facts about the games that don't just have to do with what's weird and creepy about them, but I really would appreciate it. Anyways, thanks for watching today's Fact of the Day, and tune in next week for another one. Peace.
You want the best tricks? I suggest you profit. You want a mess spread? I suggest you drop it. Once we started rolling, you know you can't stop it. Let's go and get some lessons from JWittz and Profit. Yeah.